Right, guys, welcome back to the Beautiful Struggle podcast. As you can see, we have a new backdrop to the show, and I am riding solo. So if you watched the last episode, myself and Jamie have parted ways. We're done. But no, he's obviously busy with gladiators. Between our both our diaries, it's just easier for me to go ahead and crack on with this. And obviously with me being on the road so much, the idea is to get in with some of my clients that I'm shooting with, or if I'm shooting in a particular area, I can link up with a certain person of interest to bring them on a podcast. So this is the first official episode of the Beautiful Struggle Ponder Road. And we have officially our first female guest. Now, obviously the wives were on previously, but a person of stature. Now, when we think of the influencer, the modern day female influencer on Instagram, I like to think of this person as the OG, the original gangster, when it comes to not so much being an influencer, but a figure of authority, especially for females, and someone that inspires, has done it all, walked the walk, not just talks the talk like many on Instagram these days. So ladies, pay attention. So I'd like to welcome to the Beautiful Struggle podcast, Miss Carly Thornton.
Thank you for having me here.
Do you like the intro?
I love it.
That was off the cuff. That's my daffodil all day long, that is.
I've done it better myself.
So yeah, welcome to the Beautiful Struggle podcast. We are on location today, somewhere up north near Burton-on-Trent, because we are filming another episode for your prep series for the Masters Olympia, because we are how many weeks out now? From
Six? Just over six.
6. You've got another show just before that, haven't you?
Yeah, so we fly out to Tampa 2.5 weeks.
Yep.
Tampa Pro, and then 2 weeks later, Masters Olympia.
Amazing. So we are fully in the mix of prep. I'm right at the back end, 4 days, and you're still in the trenches, I guess. So I wanted to get Carly on. She's obviously, you've been in the industry for so long, and I remember when I first started getting an interest within fitness, in terms of like the female athlete, you were pretty much the only one that the name I knew, really, especially UK, obviously. Yeah. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, did Mark Robinson prep you back in the day?
Yeah, that was 2015, and I won my pro card with Mark.
There we go. So CSN, obviously Cardiff, that's how I kind of knew the name. I put the connection. But before we get into too much into what's going on right now, let's take it back. Let's have a little introduction of yourself and kind of where it all began for you, or a brief introduction of what you've accomplished, and then we'll go back to like the day one where it started.
Okay, so I started in 2008.
Yep.
And that's when I initially competed in body fitness, which is now figure. And I had no expectations of what I personally wanted to achieve apart from enjoying getting on stage. And a funny story, actually. I won my first show. And when I got interviewed by John Plummer, if you remember John Plummer,
I know the
Flex
name.
Magazine, Muscle and Fitness.
Yeah.
And he said to me, Carly, what do you want out of this as a career? And I said, I want to be on every single cover of every magazine inspiring women to do exactly the same. And he laughed at me. And I turned around and I thought, you know what, I will show him. And then 4 years later, I was UK's #1 top fitness model.
There's nothing quite like pissed off energy to drive you forward into achieving something, is there?
Exactly. So that's the first thing I achieved.
Yeah.
And then I won my pro card in women's physique in 2015. I transitioned from figure. Then from figure, I took 4 years off to focus on all of magazine work, and a little bit more of acting as well.
Okay.
And then from then, I then went back into figure, transitioned from figure to women's physique, and then I won my pro card in 2015, competed in the Toronto Pro for my pro debut because I wanted one of the biggest shows.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, you have to do it properly.
100%.
Dive in with the big boys.
Just dive in the deep end straight off. Yeah.
then you can see where you personally fit within the criteria.
Yeah.
And then 2017 was my last show in women's physique. For the simple fact is, I was my feedback was that my upper body needed to be bigger, and that's not something that fitted with my personal beliefs and values of what I wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
So I took a step back. Wellness wasn't in the UK then, and I said if it ever come into the UK as pro, then that's something that I potentially compete in.
Yeah.
So then 4 years later, I think it's 4 or 5. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was
I
about 2 years
did
ago.
my wellness debut,
Right.
and that was Alicante. So I've transitioned from every single category,
Yeah.
and that's really unheard of.
Yeah,
From
for someone to go through each one and nail it as well. You've nailed it, each
Yes.
category. It's not just you've had a little dabble, tap dance, dipped your toes in. You've
exactly, and I think that
Yeah.
comes down to, really focusing on how you can personally improve in something.
yeah,
So when I step off stage, I think, okay, right, how can I improve in this category? Is it something that I still want to progress in? And then I go away, I do my homework,
yeah,
and then I come back even better. And that's something that I've always done, and I always stick to my personal beliefs and values. So if it doesn't align with me,
yeah.
then it's something that I kind of part ways with and start a different journey.
That's refreshing to see, because I think these days, no matter if their beliefs truly deep down go a certain way, I think with the peer pressure of social media now and everything, they end up going down the rabbit hole anyway. You see it so much on social media. Do you think it would have been a different situation for you if like social media, Instagram and everything was around and more popular at that time? I know it was around, but not as much as it is now. Do you think it would have pressured you into maybe going that, or would you have been like fully...
No, definitely not. And I think it's because I'm always working on myself.
Yeah.
And that's something that I personally believe in. When you're working on yourself, when you're working on your perspective of life and creating that stronger mindset,
Yeah.
then you could say we stick to our guns then.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's always going to be different opinions of what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing. But when you truly believe in yourself,
Yeah.
and what you want to achieve, then that's when you one, enjoy the journey of everything, and you do it for you. You're not doing it for any external factor.
Yeah, you don't get lost along the way.
No.
And I think it helps obviously with the people that you support yourself, that you have around you as well. Not so much guiding, but solidifying your thoughts as well, thinking as if to say, like, as someone to bounce it off.
This year,
Yeah.
I would say, has been the best year.
Okay.
Because I've got in a relationship where not only is Louis competing as well,
Yeah.
but we support one another. So my strengths, I help him with, because he's not so strong in those areas, and then my not so strong areas he is. So we align very well together.
You fill the gaps.
Basically, yeah.
That's a good thing with relationships. Like, just from my own personal experience, being with my wife for 19 years now, we both fill the gaps. Where I lack, she fills in, and where she doesn't lack many places, to be honest. But I try and fill in.
Yes,
I do the dishes now and again,
and that's how it works well, though, isn't
it?
Yeah, it's not always being the same.
Yeah,
but understanding what you both want to achieve, and then supporting one another in different areas.
Yeah, it's cool. So obviously you've gone through the competing side of things. You said that you wanted to get on stage. When did you actually, like, in terms of training, the gym, when did that kind of come in place? Were you always sporty through school? And no.
That's actually, I had a question the other day, and they said, "What's your sport background?"
Yeah.
And actually, I said to Lou, I've literally got no sport background at all.
Nothing at all?
No, I hated fitness. I hated anything to do with any sport. And I think that came from a place where I wasn't that confident within myself.
That's mad to hear that she's not confident in herself, just from being around you, because obviously I would say you come across as quite confident and extrovert, but the reality is deep down maybe.
Yeah, I wasn't. It's a strange thing, because even though I didn't feel confident within myself, I didn't ultimately care what anyone else thought.
Right. Okay.
So it's, I can't really put my finger on it when the reason why. But that's when I started working on how I can feel internally confident. Yeah. And that's when I started fitness in 2008.
Right, so that's where it stemmed from. Yeah.
Yes.
Building just self-confidence.
Yeah. And literally, it was a fitness first. I went. I don't think they're even there anymore.
Fitness first, yeah.
Yeah. And so I went to a fitness first, and I had only started to do cardio. I ran into the cardio room. I literally locked myself in there for about an hour. Went downstairs, went out, done. And I continued to do that, and then I got intrigued more about weight training and everything. I love the look. I love the strong look of every woman who trains. Yeah. But I found it intimidating. And then it was just one point in time that there wasn't anyone in the gym, so I kind of dived in there. Again? It was my opportunity to, and then
see what this is about.
I just thought, you know what was I worried about? And again, that's what all of them thoughts that we create in our mind creates this emotion and this build-up that's not really there. It's just a reality that you've built up yourself. Yeah. And then you realise that everyone who's in the gym is focusing on becoming better themselves. Yeah. And that's literally when it started. And then I had my first coach. His name's Tim Sharp. He actually trains at the factory gym where we train now.
Oh, I'm with him.
Yes,
right.
And he prepped Jodie Marsh as well. And he said to me, he said, "You should compete." Right. I was like, compete? What's competing? So I had to Google it. And then that's when we started working on our first show.
Yeah. And what year was this again?
2008.
That was 2008.
So I competed first of all when I was 28. A lot of people compete very, very early these days. Yeah. Whereas I was 28, so I'd had my time of going out, letting my hair down, and now I could focus purely on building myself. Yeah. And I think that's a good place to be, because even though it's good that a lot of people are getting into it younger, they're not having that time for them to grow.
And I think as well, mentally, just from like people that I've been around as well, and there's a couple of girls actually a lot younger than me, and I've kind of been like an older brother in the year, kind of trying to direct them, and if they're watching this, they'll probably know who I'm talking about. But I always said something that, like, what I thought I wanted when I was 23 was not what I wanted when I was 33, and I think decisions you make there, especially in bodybuilding and what we have to do, some are going to be irreversible, and then by the time you're 33, you've fucked your life up. So as much as the late start, it is a bit frustrating. I'm myself as well. I'm like, my biggest regret is not starting earlier, but I think there's a good part of that as well, where you're settled in your mind, you know what you want.
You're not so heavily influenced on others.
Yeah,
and I think because people do start, and because of social media, there's so many ways that people can be influenced now.
Oh, massively, yeah.
And we have to remember it is all fake. It's not in reality. So when people are showing you, they could be showing you flashy cars, the best body, but you don't know what's behind everything. No, you don't know the real, the beautiful struggle. The beautiful struggle that's going on behind the scenes.
You touched on it there about you did your time like before going and getting into fitness, about partying and stuff like that. Let's talk about that Carly. Is the party animal still alive? Because I've heard stories. Louis was telling me that the first thing you do when you get off stage is go for a pint.
We do that's literally our ritual. I get off stage and I down a pint.
Sounds like a valley girl.
He can't down a pint, honestly.
No? Same, mate.
I've got the knack.
Well, looking forward to Romania.
But I'm not. You know what? I've never been a heavily party person.
No?
No.
Because I would have thought you was just.
Yeah.
I can just imagine it, but not. No.
I used to go clubbing.
Yeah.
But I've never been a raver or anything like that. I think I went to one rave when I was younger in London.
Right.
I literally wore really pathetically high shoes.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what you're supposed to wear to rave in.
Mm-hmm.
My feet felt like they were bleeding. It wasn't a good experience.
Yeah.
So no.
So how often would you say these days you kind of go out and let your hair down?
We go to London. It depends if we've got shows.
Yeah, of
So
course.
if we haven't, we like to have nice meals, go for a drink or 2 or 3 or 4, 3 bottles of wine.
When I turned up
5
last
bottles of
night, you were
wine.
drinking a couple of glasses of wine, I saw. Like, okay.
You didn't see that?
No. That's why I went and checked in and got to my room straight away, because I thought this could get messy. Like, Carl, no, we won't be there tomorrow, mate. So obviously you still have a little bit of balance, but I know obviously you're busy. You're aside from competing, you've got your businesses ongoing as well. So I suppose the social thing, when it happens, you enjoy it, but like it's few and far between when you kind of enjoy that time.
As I say, it depends if we are competing. If we're not, then every weekend we'll go out for a meal or we're sociable.
Yeah.
But I think when I was younger, I didn't like the way I looked physically, and that lowered my self-esteem because the person that I was inside didn't reflect from the outside.
Okay.
So when I was younger, I didn't have to, but my choice was to get drunk before I left the house, before I met anyone, because my confidence was so low that I didn't want to go out. And there was times that I actually cancelled on friends instantly, and I lost a lot of friends from it because they didn't understand obviously what was going through my head and the reason why I kept on cancelling. So I lost friends from it because I made excuses. So that was a weird transition, trying to figure out and understand why was I doing that. Because I was letting people down, and I didn't want to let people down, but there was something holding me back because I didn't like the way I felt about myself.
Has that carried on into present day?
No, because now I've worked a lot on myself. I'm understanding and becoming aware of the way I think about things. I communicate, and that's one thing I would say to everyone. The communication is key, because people don't know what's going on inside your head if you don't tell them. And that's something, throughout the years I've learned to communicate a lot more.
And I guess even talking on the story sometimes is something, just to put something out there, get something off your chest, maybe. Mental release then. So I guess the training side of things was a little bit of a mental release for you, getting in the gym, building that self-confidence, building that
becoming physically fitter.
Fitter.
Feeling strong at the same time, and becoming more healthy, because I used to live on chips, cheese and gravy. That's
nice
I
right
can't remember
now.
the last time I had that, but that's kind of
Yeah.
what I used to live on, and homemade kind of spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just spaghetti bolognese; we had seconds,
Of course.
So as you do,
Garlic bread.
So it was. I wanted to work on and understand nutrition,
Yeah.
and what's good for my body, how it helps me function, my moods, my emotions, and everything at the
Yeah.
same time.
And that's like, if we look at a timeline, that's like 15 years of working on yourself.
Over 20.
Over 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So a
Long
lot of time
time.
put into that. With regards to your competing, I'm just looking at my notes that
I can see.
that I wrote down. Come prepared for this one, because I haven't got giant to kind of fill the gaps. So going back to competing, your pro card win, everyone obviously goes on, and I find it hard when people say, they kind of slate how easy it is to get a pro card these days. How much did winning that pro card mean to you when you first won that? Was it a big deal for you?
Okay, I'll be honest.
Yeah, good.
I wasn't competing for a pro card at the time. And then when myself and Luke got together, that was his vision, pro card.
Yeah.
And then when I was in figure, I was actually told that I I needed to go up a category, and it's not something that I actually intended to do.
Okay.
But with hard training, with correct nutrition, it was inevitable that I grow, because physically, when I put my mind to something and the training, I apply everything, I can morph my body, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
So I went to compete in Madrid in women's physique. Never done it in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I walked on stage, I won the physique class, and then I won the overall. And that's how I got my pro card at the Arnold in Madrid.
And you'd never done it?
Never. But it taken, even though then I won my pro card, it had taken from 2008 to 2015. So even though, yes, I won it then, it's everything that I built up throughout those years.
There's 7 years of work, you know.
7 years of work, and people don't see that.
No.
So when people think, oh, okay, I'm going to get one of these pro cards, you know, it's not as easy as that.
No.
Unless you're genetically blessed and you're a beast, it's different. But
yes.
Otherwise, everything takes time.
Yeah, of
and
course.
Like bodybuilding helps you understand that, you know, time is on your side when you use it effectively. It
is. Like my whole thing at the minute, if anyone that follows my thing, is I've sloganed my little journey as the race against time, because I am turning the big 40 next year, and because
they're the best times of your life, mate.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. But I've got like this shelf life that I can see, so I'm trying to do as much in the time, and I think that's why I've, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, just speaking from personal experience, is that's why I've progressed so much, because I am looking at that time and I'm thinking I need to maximize that time and do everything I can in that to do this goal, this bucket list that I've got. So yeah, unfortunately they don't see the 7 years, but with social media now, it's so easy to document things, and it's so cool. I've actually documented pretty much the last 8 years of my stuff on YouTube.
Yep.
And for me to look back at that in like 10 years time is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So I think, and obviously I've had a little look through your YouTubes as well, and you've got some interviews from back in the day of, I think Palumbo, there was a video, I think, of Dave Palumbo.
I think that was still in figure then, and then when I was transitioning, because he's interviewed me a couple of times actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's epic when you have something like that.
Yeah, it's cool. So they're really cool moments for you to kind of look back on as well.
Yeah.
When this is all done.
Yeah. But, a lot of my clients and people will follow me. They message me and say, I've followed you for 10 years.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm still preaching the same thing. And that's what you want to look at. You want to look at people that, you know, what have they been doing, and what did they do in the past? Are they still practicing what they preach? Are they a product of what they speak about?
Or are they full of shit?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And there's not that many real people.
There's not, unfortunately. And I've found that out myself, just being around different circles and pockets within the industry, that there are genuine people out there that actually do the do. And I'll still be around those people now, whereas there's others that aren't so much about that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why us lot click so much, I think, because, you know, we are legit in terms of, not legit as in we're hardcore and that, but it's just more like genuine.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you mean what you say and you do what you say.
Yeah.
You touched on obviously the category changes and where they asked you to be bigger up top.
Yes.
Just out of interest, for anyone watching, she does three sets of side lateral raises at the end of her session. That's all she needs to do to grow the shoulders. So I imagine just applying yourself to upper body would just explode.
Yes, I mean, back in the day, for women's physique, my shoulders needed to be bigger, so I trained them a couple of times a week. But now, because I've built up that muscle maturity and age, because muscle maturity, I don't need to do that. So it's like you're waking them up again, isn't it?
Excuse me, cameraman, could you reset my camera? I've got a little helper, little garden gnome in the background. So in respect to, you know, obviously not aligning with your beliefs, obviously PEDs is part of the game that we're in. We dabbled on it briefly there about, you know, girls perhaps doing things that they shouldn't be doing, or getting pressured into doing it. What advice would you, just from your personal experience, what advice would you give in terms of that? Because obviously you've kept your, it's a big word, femininity.
Even though I have got the jaw lines now, come on, a couple of weeks out, so I'm looking a little bit like an orc.
The orc, I was waiting for the orc. But yeah, what would you say in terms of like, just for any, younger competitors, girls, even men, because it applies to both. Obviously, there are going to be different side effects, but what would you say from your perspective?
I would say, there's a lot of people will say, I would do anything, whatever it takes. And I understand that mentality, but at the same time, would you really? Because there's certain things, if you go past it and you take certain compounds, then there's potentially things that you can regret for the rest of your life. And bodybuilding is only one stage of your life. So once you've finished, how do you want your next life, shall we say, to be? And it's really important, and that's one of the reasons why I've been in the industry, and I can't think off the top of my head another woman. I think there's a couple of men who's been in the industry and still in the industry from 2008.
Yeah,
there's not anyone that I can think of that's still going. If it's running businesses, competing, I can't think of anyone, and that's because I do focus on health as well.
Yeah,
I won't do anything if it's going to have a negative impact on me or anyone around me.
Yeah.
So, and I will always stick to my guns there, and you always have to remember your reason why. Like, why are you doing something? My reason wasn't ever to get a pro card. It was I wanted to be the best I could be. And a funny thing is, the best I could be in 2008, I wanted abs like Britney Spears. Got a little bit past that now, but
at least you haven't shaved your ear off like that moment she had.
But always remember your reason why you're doing something, because the reason why I'm competing now is completely different to back years ago. I was trying to mask a lot of things. So when you're competing, some emotions can go. You can put your whole focus on that everything in your life can become blurred.
Yeah.
And that's what I tried to do. So I was competing for the wrong reasons, and it's not a healthy reason.
So you were just fucking everything else off and just going.
Becoming numb. Numb to the whole process. I'm not numb to a process now, but then I was, because I wanted to shut a lot of things that were going on in my life out.
You're aware of it now, by the sounds of it.
The reason for me to compete in isn't trying to get out of pain. It's it's working towards pleasure. So there's a different strategy behind it. So I'm competing because I want to challenge myself. I want to challenge myself so much that I want to know that I can run multiple businesses, I can have a fantastic relationship, and I can compete. And when I was driving here, I was thinking about it. I thought, I've actually done it. There's been challenging times, but I've built even more resilience than I ever have done. And I wanted to get to that point. Because I didn't know if I could get there. Yes, I could, because I'm Carly Thornton, but I didn't know because it's not something I've had to stretch myself with before. Yeah. And that's why I do it. Yes, I'm going to the Olympia. Yes, I want to go to the other Olympia, but ultimately it's about growing myself. Yeah.
It opens up this door of mental fortitude when you're going after not even competing, I guess, but this physical transformation, because doing this is training this at the same time, and then 100%. If you can carry that over into other areas of your life, whether that be your business, multiple businesses, your relationship, whatever. I'm doing it on a much lower scale to what you're doing it, but I completely understand it, because I've always said with Magic Eye, with everything, my ambition for things now wasn't always like this until I started getting my shit together with my physique.
Yes.
Because I just wanted a DJ, and that was it. I wanted to go to the clubs 3 or 4 nights a week, play some tunes, eat some pizza after the club, and that was me. But I loved it, and obviously I got quite far in it.
You're really good at, yeah.
But then when I started the physical transformation and getting a little bit obsessed with that, that's when the doors open for Magic Eye. And I find it, not to put this onto myself, but it sounds, because I can relate to what you're saying. When people ask me, how are you staying on top of your prep when you're driving 8 hours to shoot? You're shooting for 4 hours, you're training, you're doing your cardio. I like the challenge and thinking, by the time I go to bed that night, I'm like, motherfucker, done that, tick, done that one.
Yeah.
Similar type of thing?
I think it expands yourself as well, doesn't it? Because, I have exactly the same, like, how do you do it all?
Yeah.
And one, because you have a good structure. Two, you have to understand what your priorities are.
Yeah.
So if your priorities aren't aligned with what you want to achieve, then that's when a lot of people don't get the results they want, because let's say, for example, okay, so my relationship's really good.
Yeah.
So I don't have to prioritize that right now because we're at a point that it's very good.
It's in place and it's there, yeah.
So that he can support me while I focus on competing. So that's a priority. And at the same time, so is business. So when and I said on my stories, I said, I have days that I structure. So I will either have, if I have Zoom meetings all day, that's my training day. If I have in-person meetings, then I have that as a cardio day. So I work everything around my schedule with training and business at the same time.
And the coach is happy for you to do that as well, obviously?
Yeah, of course. But then I communicate with him, because a lot of people will do their cardio all in the morning.
Yeah.
And for me, I will do some of it in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I will either do, again, another part of it on a cardio day. So I have double cardio.
Yeah.
And on a training day, sometimes I minimise the cardio because I've added it onto a cardio day.
So you just double up and make up the time?
Basically, yeah, because then for me, my performance is even greater with weight training. So my energy isn't dipping on there. So it's just utilising your mind effectively and thinking, okay, how can I work this out to be the most effective for me?
Yeah. I'm planning ahead in line with everything else you've got going on. Because you are wearing many hats, with obviously the different businesses and competing. So organisation is always going to be key there, isn't it? And that,
yes, and that's something I gave advice to people, because a lot of people don't understand that we've all got different hats. So you go to work, you have a hat.
Yeah.
Right? You go home, that's a different hat. You're now the partner. That's your business hat, your partner hat, your training hat, athlete.
Yeah.
A lot of people blend them in. So let's say, for example, they've had a bit of a manic day at home. They don't give themselves that breathing time to then go to home to be the partner. They're still transitioning the workload onto that, and that's where it can go wrong.
That's where the issues will come in at home then, isn't it? You're taking your work home with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Guilty of that now and again.
There's a difference between taking it home and coming home to communicate with your partner.
Yeah. Do you ever take it home?
We communicate, to be fair. I mean, we're very similar in a lot of ways. So sometimes, we do, rub off on each other, but that's because we're both very powerful people.
Passionate, powerful, and yeah, I get that.
But we've learned to communicate. And that's a massive thing. We wasn't like that first of all in the relationship.
No,
but after time, you learn to communicate. So even to the point that if it's prep or something, I will voice note and just say, just to let you know, I'm going to be a little bit quiet today because I'm tired. I've got a busy day doing this. Then he knows.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to think, oh, how come she's like this? How come she... And
start
clocking it, all of those thoughts that actually aren't there. So if you actually communicate, this is how I'm feeling, then he knows. Yeah.
That's a good thing. And many people can take something away from that. Me included. Like going back a couple of weeks, Carla, my wife, texted me and said, "Are you okay? Like it must have been a couple of days of me being in a hole."
Yeah.
Because she went to Portugal on a birthday weekend, and I must have been quiet leading up to that. But I was just in prep mode, and I think she texted me just saying, "Are we okay?" I'm like, "We're absolutely fine. I am just in the fucking hole here with prep, with work, keeping on top of everything. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel." And perhaps I should have communicated prior to that and just said, "Look, I'm feeling it. There's nothing wrong," which I did after the fact, and she was absolutely fine with it. as we're on the topic of relationships now, obviously, well, I'm not sure if many people would have known, but a previous relationship you were in with was with Luke Sandoe, who obviously tragically passed away. How long was the relationship there with Luke? How long were you?
We were together 5 years.
5 years.
So when he first started ever competing in 2012.
Right. So up till 2017 then, is that right?
Yes.
Done the maths. You know, I don't want to go too deep into this because obviously I know it's going to be a very personal topic for you. I only had met Luke once or twice, and I think there was cusp of us doing work. You know, there was talks of it at one point. Unfortunately, it didn't come to that place. But how did you know, with obviously in your own words, how did that situation affect you at that time? You know, with what went on. You know,
it affected me massively.
Yeah.
Because we had been together for 5 years. And then, even though we weren't together anymore, we built up a solid friendship.
Yeah.
So we were best friends. We were there for each other for everything.
I kind of got that from social media that you were still quite tight.
We were better not together.
Right.
Because then we helped each other, we built each other up, and we supported one another with relationships, everything, business. And when it happened, I was devastated. Because you knew someone that was very, very special to you, and you don't have to be in a relationship for someone to be special.
Of course, yeah.
And yeah, I went to see someone because I went to see him when he'd passed at his home.
Yeah.
And that moment was probably the worst moment of my life. And the emotions that I had in my head, I couldn't cope with it. I didn't want to get up in the morning. And this is one thing how bodybuilding helped as well. I set myself a routine to get up in the morning.
Okay.
I pushed myself to get up.
Yeah.
Because I knew after time it would help me. So I planned a routine. I didn't have a coach to do that or anything. I had to do it myself. And then I went to see someone because obviously seeing someone who's passed right in front of you, you can't do anything about it, was something that the thoughts and the emotions I had every time, I could see it. I could see him in my head. So I went to see someone, and basically what they helped me do was remove that emotion. You can't remove a memory, and it's not, you don't want to remove memories anyway.
Of course not.
But to remove that emotion, that feeling, so I don't have that, so I can openly talk about it.
Yeah.
Then that's what they did, and I mean, he's still here. You know, I do talk to him all the time.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things. He knew me inside out. You know, so I do speak to him, and you know, I asked him why. A lot of the time, I asked him why. And one thing I think I will say is, you know, again, and this is why I think communication's key, because always that, and I've done it in the past myself, and both of us was very guilty of it. It's easy to hide behind a smile.
Yeah, you hear that a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of people won't comprehend what someone's going through because someone's smiling or acting in front of the camera or anything like that.
Yeah,
and that is why communication is everything, and that's something that I've learned. You have to. No one knows what's going on inside your head. No one. And there was a lot, obviously, that I know that was going on.
Yeah.
In that point in time, and it's not something I want to go into.
No, of course not. No, I wouldn't ask you to.
But there was, you know, there was a lot of reasons why he doesn't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And it's
horrible.
It's a sad thing, but at the same time, if you don't want to be here and you want to relieve yourself of that, you can understand it, especially in the world we're living in now. And there's a lot of, there's even more fakeness. It's hard to get help, to find real people.
Yeah, there's
to have that support.
The boy that cried wolf kind of thing, where there's a lot. Obviously, it's great that mental health is there's so much awareness around it now. It's great. But also I think there's a few out there that will play on that as well.
Yeah.
Just for that social media attention and
I think it comes down to like because social media is so heavily dominated with everything.
Yeah.
And you that word, I hate the word trolls or haters.
But
why do people feel like they have to say something to someone? Instead, they should be getting help themselves, because there's something internally that they're not happy with. But what they probably don't understand is how it's affecting other people.
Yeah.
And like we've had a lot of people that have passed away recently.
Yeah.
I can't actually remember her name, but a TV presenter.
Caroline Flack.
Yeah. Again, it's not nice. So
no.
If you're not going to be kind, just
don't say anything. Don't say anything. So, on like the mentality side of things, was that the first time that you had experienced like a mental shift, like where you obviously you said you needed to speak to someone? Is that the first time in your life that you've kind of gone to that, needed that?
Yeah, that was there was 3 things that happened all at once.
Right.
So obviously Luke passed.
Yeah.
I lost my business. I stopped competing.
Wow,
so 3 major things. So I'd been an athlete for say 15 years. An athlete for 15 years. And I stopped competing. And as an athlete, that's my identity.
Yeah.
So if I haven't got an identity to who is Carly now. 1, you've lost someone you love. Right? Another thing. And then you lose your business. 3 major things all at once.
That's it. That's everything. Everything, yeah.
So it was just sort of, for me, and this is major personal development. This was me. I did this whole process on my own to rebuild myself, to understand who I was.
Did you put any of this out there?
No.
Because I've never. No. Obviously, I knew the Luke bits and bobs, but in terms of everything else, I knew that you'd. Not that I knew, but I know that you weren't active on the competing scene. But yeah, obviously you didn't put that out there. Just wondering, like, would have been a difference in you putting it out there? Would you have had that support back, or then again, would you have just had the bullshit back from the people online again?
It depends how you put it, doesn't it? Because I'm not online to do a sob story.
No, of course,
That's how it can transition. And for me, I wanted to just work on myself to understand who I wanted to be, rebuild myself, and I needed that time for me. Yeah. Not for social media. I need that time for me to work on a plan to get out of bed. That's a win.
Yeah.
And to not get help and do it yourself. And then the only part of help I did get was seeing someone. I think I had 3 sessions, and all of these different things that I've overcome a lot, and that's built me. It's built you. That's built the person that I personally am, and how I can help other people.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the mental side of things. Just because, again, it's like the reason I do this podcast is because I end up being able to relate to people a lot.
Yeah.
And this is the last bit of this chat, because I don't want to keep going on about it. Do you use the energy that you get from going through hardships like that? Do you use that now to achieve your goals?
That's interesting.
Because I do.
I would say, and this is what I've said this year, I thrive on positive pressure.
Okay.
Through challenges.
Yeah.
And again, that's probably then why because I've overcome so much and I've rebuilt myself, to have that pressure of something else to continue to build in a different way.
Yep.
I would say, 100%.
Using that energy. Because everyone...
But in a positive way, not a destructive way.
Yeah, of course. It is negative. It is negative energy. It is. But you put a spin on that to create something positive off the back of that energy. So I'll tell you something quickly, which happened to me. Last year I competed. Basically, me and my wife became grandparents the year before.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly. Literally found out on the day the baby was here. Unfortunately, baby passed away the same day. Okay. So in one day, I went from just being a dad to a grandfather. I was 4 hours north in Manchester on the way back from a shoot, so my head was scrambled. I went through all the emotions of anger because we hadn't been told, shock, excitement, and then reality sets in because the baby was actually 3 months premature. So it's like, shit, this is heavy, so this is life-changing for us.
Yeah.
So by the time I got home from Manchester, within an hour or two, unfortunately passed away. Absolutely ruined me.
Yeah.
I'd never experienced that mental shift that we've been speaking about prior to that. And it was at that point I texted Callum and I was like, I need to start prep because I need to focus on something.
Yep.
But at the time it was like November. We had Christmas. It was my wife's birthday in December.
Times as well,
it was New Year's. I was like, I can't start prep now because I need to be there for my family and that.
Yeah.
So I just need maybe to just get this out of the way. And then in the January, that's when I started the prep. But for 6 weeks, I was just drinking. That was my way of dealing with it. I was still training, didn't really concentrate on my nutrition and things, but that thought of everything that had happened, that was like a driver for me for that prep.
Yeah.
And as soon as that first Monday of 2022 hit, I dived deep into prep. And not that this is advice for me to say dive into prep to deal with things like that, but that was kind of the energy that got me through that prep. So
it was probably also making sure that you have a routine.
Yeah, routine
that helped you, because if you don't have a routine, where do you go from there? So you've got that routine in place. You have to be regimented. So that helps.
And it's exactly what you just said. You needed to get that routine in place to deal with it. And I guess why I said it, I brought that up is because when you were talking about it, I was like, that's kind of what I did, but without even thinking that I was doing that. I was getting a routine in place. Whereas I was thinking I just need to focus on this and get this thing done. I was actually just getting a routine in place subconsciously.
To help you.
To help you, yeah. But yeah, that's heavy, but thank you very much for sharing. I'm sure there will be people out there that will be appreciative as well.
And one other thing.
Yeah.
Luke thought of Gluteywear, the name.
Well.
Is that the next... Yeah.
Have you did you read my notes when I went over that? So obviously, Gluteywear, the monster of Gluteywear, because it is like, it's one of the leading brands in the industry. It is, it's been around how many years now?
4.5 years.
4.5 years since it launched.
Nearly 5 years.
Right.
That's why we're doing the relaunch.
Right. Okay. So 5 years roughly.
Yeah, which is a bit of a pinnacle moment as well, because obviously when we first started Gluteywear, myself and Luke were sitting down thinking of names. That's something, he's so creative. If you didn't know, he's amazing at drawing. Yeah,
I think I've seen bits
insane
that he's done on maybe some videos I've seen on YouTube and things.
Really good, yeah. And he thought of the name. I'm not even going to go into some of the names. I thought they were terrible.
It just rolls off the tongue, Gluteywear, though.
Yes.
Yeah. So was it a lot of choices, and then it was like, or did it just kind of
basically got a scrapbook, wrote names down that I thought of.
Yeah.
And then went from there, because, and then the reason why now we've got the relaunch, for one, because the world's evolving.
Yep.
The materials you can get, I wanted them to be recycled, so it's recycled lycra. Lycra, which is the most premium fabric on the market. There's not that many companies that will have it because it's very, very expensive.
Right.
But the feeling's incredible. So I wanted to go down that route, and because it's 5 years, I wanted the company to evolve. I wanted a redesign of the logo to make it even more premium than it ever has done. And it is a bit of a moment, because not only is it a relaunch, it's like a rebirth. Because there's a lot with Gluteywear, because Luke was involved. There's a lot, unconsciously there's a lot there, because he was the one that helped with the name. He was
tied to it, kind of thing.
So now it's like that rebirth of the growth of Carly as well. It's not just Gluteywear. Gluteywear is a part of me, so it's an umbrella of myself. So I'm growing, I'm getting older. Gluteywear, same, needs to align with myself and what my personal beliefs and where I want to see the company go. So we all beautifully aligns together.
It's another branch to the tree of Carly and Gluteywear. So, well, the name was obviously where I was going with it. Did you always want to get into the fitness fashion side of things, or was it just kind of evolved as you were becoming an athlete?
A bit kind of because of an athlete, because I used to go to the gym, I couldn't find anything that fitted me correctly. Cliche as it sounds, because my legs were bigger than my waist. They were either baggy or they'll see through. I've had clothing that's ripped. I've had to put a jump around my waist if I'm doing an RDL, and it didn't make me feel confident, because I felt like, okay, I wanted to train, I wanted to build my physique, but I felt like I couldn't. I felt like, there wasn't anything for me to wear, so it lowered my confidence. So that's when I kept on talking about it, and Luke was like, right, let's have a look at different products. That took over a year, because I put them on myself. I went to train in them to see how they fitted, how they fit when they squatted, etc. So, and that's how it transitioned.
Very cool. And
then I did it with no investment. It was literally, I had no experience within business in the fashion, garment business at all. So everything was from scratch. And that's something that I would say to anyone, because a lot of people won't start anything because they say, I haven't got enough money. I have no experience. The only way you build up experience is to start something, and failure is only feedback. So if you make a mistake, okay, how are you going to learn from that? How are you going to grow? I've made so many mistakes, but without making the mistakes, you wouldn't have grown.
It's cliche, but you see it on like the Instagram memes and stuff. You only fail when you stop.
And I know people love reading things like that, but do they actually absorb it in, and
Definitely
do they utilize it, or they go, that's cool,
they'll put it in their caption or their Instagram threads now, which we were talking about, but they won't absorb it and soak that up. That's cool. So the ethos behind Gluteywear then, right now, because obviously we're fresh off the behind the scenes shoot, so I kind of know the bits and bobs. Obviously you've got a new kind of direction that you're going with the brand, with it being recycled materials, and then in terms of the people you're directing it to, has that changed as well, or is it still
we're targeting a wider age as well, and more body shapes. The sizes go up to an extra large now, which they only went up to a large. And I'll be honest with you, one of the reasons why, because one, there wasn't the market for it. And two, financially, I didn't have that much to invest in it. So I made a commitment this year. That is something that I want to give every woman the opportunity to wear Gluteywear. No matter what shape, what size, and hit that wider target audience, because I am getting older. I want a lot more people my age,
mature ladies,
that they can wear it as well, if they're in the gym or if they're out and about with their kids. So, and
I think it's a little bit more accepted now, just from looking around and being in gyms and seeing, obviously girls of a bigger size wearing things or being comfortable to go out. You see it on all the like Boohoo and all that, all the models, they're being a bit more what's the word, even across the board in terms of like the people that they're using. You see it on TV, sometimes you see them doing it and you think they're just using them for it, but I think it's just a lot more widely accepted,
Yes.
Which is very cool.
Yeah,
which is
it
very cool.
Well, when we we did an application
Yeah.
for it, and in the application, we asked some questions. I wanted to know what their backstory is, what they've overcome. So I wanted to know more about the woman and what they've overcome and how it's helped them throughout their life. So every single woman that we have on the shoot has a backstory.
Good, yeah.
And that's the inspiring thing, because we all have different struggles that we overcome, but to listen to them and to share them is just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful struggle.
It's a beautiful struggle.
It's a beautiful struggle. So with you mentioned Louis, who's now out of the room, so we can call him Rotten. Obviously, he's like a core part of your support network that everyone loves to talk about now. How long have you been together with Louis now?
2.5 years.
From being around you, it seems like you've been together a lot longer.
We are very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are very similar. There's certain parts that we're not, but ultimately I'm like a female version of him.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And I think he's jumping back into prep shortly as well. So there's going to be a point now where you're deep in prep. He's going to be just starting.
Yeah.
Well, he kind of told me earlier downstairs, he was like, I've got 2 weeks till prep officially starts, but fuck it, I'm starting now. I need to get on it.
Yeah, it's more so it's in his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's already creating that mindset.
And what do you think the relationship when you're both, prepping alongside a partner, because there's going to be many people out there that prep alongside each other. Have you done it?
We've done it together. Now we're actually doing it separately. Okay. So we actually spoke about it the other day, because we do communicate about everything.
Yeah.
And for us to prep separately is better, because ultimately when you're prepping, your main focus is yourself, as you know. So even though you can support that person, you can't support them as much as you can if one of them was prepping.
Yeah.
So for us to have that transition of, right, we're focusing on Carly now, then we focus on Louis. It does help.
It balances the seesaw.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And I can communicate with him, because I prep differently to him. I like a lot of quiet time. And it took him a little while to understand that. So I will say to him, my words, I'm just going to zen for a little while. That's my words that I use. And he goes, okay. And then he knows in his mind, okay, Carly wants some quiet time.
So,
yes. Yeah. You can talk, but I won't reply.
Yeah. And he can talk.
Yes, he can talk.
He can talk. With like being in the industry for obviously the time that you've been in it, are there relationships that you've had which you've kept the standard time? Is that the right phrase? I'm not sure. I think I butchered that. But the test of time, have they stood the test of time? Have you been through like friendships? Is there people that you're still close to now, or is there people that you thought were friends and then you've kind of like they've gone separate ways throughout the years?
Yeah, to be fair, in the fitness industry, I have kept myself to myself quite a lot. I don't socialise with a lot of people within the industry. I have a select few that I do speak to now, and there's a couple of ladies that I speak to that we've filmed together with. They're amazing. One of my favourite women, right, and I'm so grateful that I met, was Shelley.
Yeah,
literally, we text each other every single day, and she's like a black version of myself. She's like a soul sister. So she's amazing. And I think when you get older, you recognise the real true people. And when Luke passed, my thought process changed.
Right.
And I saw a lot of people in a different light. And I don't know if that's because I walk around in a bubble, I walk around in my own world. So I had this mask over me, so I didn't see what was real. Or maybe I didn't want to acknowledge what was real. Or want to know, And when he passed, that's when my whole reality of the world changed. You kind
of see behind the curtain a little bit of what people are actually about.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is sad. It is sad, because obviously when you think you're tight with people, or you think people are a certain way, genuinely, and then you can see them for what they're really about. It's a bit disheartening then, isn't it? Because obviously you've built up time.
It is, but then it's understanding that you need to protect yourself and your energy, and you ultimately you want to be around the people who will help you grow, and you can all live a more enjoyable life together.
Yeah.
And I always say you don't need a lot of people, you just need the right people.
Just the right people, yeah. Wicked. So bringing it up to current times, Olympia.
Yeah.
6-7 weeks. What was it?
Just over 6. I keep on losing count because it's going so fast now.
It is fast. It is fast. We need to get these episodes filmed. So, how is the prep going so far? Obviously, you're coached by Callum.
Yep.
Team pro coach, athletes, both of us. I'll call myself an athlete. I'll put myself in that bracket.
You are an athlete.
So, how is the prep been so far? Like this?
Really, really good. You know what? I've had a lot of people ask me, what's Callum like to work with? And I always say, it all depends what you want. Like myself and Callum work very well together. For me, he'll give me my training, my diet. If I've got any questions, I'll ask him.
Yeah.
I don't need any more. So I can only give my opinion of what I personally need. Someone else is different. But we've worked together really well. We're bringing the best package I ever have in the part. I don't know if you saw my progress in the past 11 months, which was the day before my show in Portugal to the other week. The amount I've progressed in 11 months, and myself and Callum have probably been working together, I would say, maybe 6 months.
Okay.
So half that time, should we say. And the amount of progress that I've made in that time, to have the correct coach that aligns with you on your side, to have the correct mindset, correct support from your partner, that's what's made the difference.
It all gels together nicely.
All of it gels, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, Carl, just from, again, being coached by him as well, it's everyone, there's so many coaches out there now, but ultimately it comes down to the relationship and how the coach responds to what you need, isn't it? So, and I know Carl, it's like a two-way street. You'll tell him where you sit on certain things or your commitments, and he will always jiggle things around to meet that and match what you need. Because ultimately, if you're happy, the process is just going to be so much smoother.
Exactly. And I do find, obviously, being in the industry for so long, and a lot of people jump from coach to coach, and they voice that they wasn't happy with that coach. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, a lot of the time that I've found in the past, because I haven't communicated with their coach. And if you're not giving your coach feedback and you're not telling your coach how you feel, asking questions, what do you expect? It's a two-way street. And with my coaching, when I get on a call, right, I know what they're expecting from me, but I also tell them what I'm expecting from them. Because it is a two-way thing.
If you're giving 110% to them, they need to give that back. And you see that with the guys that step on stage ultimately, because they've done the do. They've done the do. So we are just under 7 weeks out from the Olympia in Romania. You're doing Tampa in 3?
Just over 3.
3 weeks.
So we're flying out, oh my God, 26th of this month.
26th.
So not long, and then it's the 3rd that I compete.
3rd, that's exciting.
I can't wait. I've always wanted to compete, and I said to Lou, I've always wanted to compete in America.
So this is the first time in America?
Yes, I've competed in Canada. So
I've Toronto,
Toronto and Vancouver.
What was the Toronto like when you competed there? Was it a big show?
Absolutely huge.
Because me and Carl went last year.
It was in an expo.
Right, because it was quiet. It was like...
it was huge. I was in women's physique as well. And I when I competed in women's physique, it was one of the biggest lineups. Some of the Olympians were there. Jamie Pinder, she was one of the Olympians that's always come second at the Olympia. She was in figure, then transitioned to women's physique, so they're all of them backstage. And Michaela,
Right, yeah.
Do you remember Michaela?
Yep, yep.
She was
briefly
there.
I'm not going to sit here and say no, but I know
Yeah.
the names. I know the names, but yeah.
Yeah. So I've always I've competed in Vancouver, but I've always wanted to compete in America. So this will be the first one in Tampa. Yeah.
Exciting.
And that's what I love about competing as well, because myself and Lou were talking about it the other day. The amount of countries that we've been to, right, that we would never have thought of going to. Like Portugal, Alicante, loads of times. We love Alicante. Romania.
Yeah.
You know, we're Louis competing in Italy, in Milan.
Milan, dear. It's Rome.
It is Milan. Is it? Oh, okay. Rome.
It's Rome then. Not Milan. Yeah, it's like you're going to be experiencing all these new places. Competing, and then memory books as well.
Yeah.
You know, so on memory books, this is going to be is this the last crack at competing when it comes to Romania, or is it like never say never?
I've always said never say never. You just don't know, do you?
Yeah.
If I win Tampa Pro and I get the invite to the Olympia,
of course,
that's 2 Olympias.
No brainer.
Yeah.
No brainer.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it's exciting. So, well, I guess all that's left to say now, you've got prep to finish off. So by the time this episode's dropping on the YouTube, you're going to be going to Tampa shortly after that. Then we're going to get this up on your channel.
Yep.
We've got today's session, which is obviously going to be on your channel as well.
Episode 5.
So I reckon just on the timeline, I'm probably going to see you after Tampa by the time this...
Yeah.
So... next time we see each other, that'll be done and dusted, and we'll know where we sit.
Yep.
And
you won't be dieted anymore.
And then I will be fat again, yeah?
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for obviously coming on the podcast.
Me.
Is there any shout outs you want to give? Is there anything you want to ask me, or anything at all that you'd like to say to kind of wrap this up?
One question for you. What would you personally advise people either getting into the industry and wanting to make a career out of it? By looking at yourself and what you do. You know, a lot of people will try and mimic what you do.
Yeah.
Instead of building the foundations of what they personally want to achieve. What's your advice?
I always have a saying that passion takes you places, and all the stuff that I do now is stemmed off the back of a passion, which is originally just getting in shape. Believe it or not, the cameras and things weren't ever a thought. I never went to uni. I started using a little vlogging camera to start recording my own little bits and bobs. And it's been a snowball effect of passion. So I think as long as you are doing something that you're passionate about and you put in 100% effort into that, it's always going to take you where you're going to need to, or where you want to go. Not even where you want to go, but it'll take you where it takes you. I didn't think I'd be sat here doing a podcast with Carly Thornton when I heard your name being...
Should have my shades to put on there.
Yeah, no. And a big hat. Could you just reset my camera for me, please, bro? But yeah, I think with passion, it takes you places. And I think as long as the passion, you're being true... It's so cheesy. Being true to yourself. I hear that so much on Love Island at the moment. But yeah, I think as long as you are staying true to what you're about... And I think you're always checking yourself that you are being real with where you sit. It'll end up taking you where you need to go, or where you want to go. So that's kind of where that's where my ethos lies. And we'll just continue doing that, and wherever it takes me, it takes me. It took me to stage this year. It'll take me to stage next year again, and wherever Magic Eye goes next, I'm here for it.
Good. Well, let me give a shout out to a couple of sponsors. Bikini Mama, who's going to be doing my Olympia bikini. I'm going there Wednesday to get it. We've got Strong Nutrition, Gluteywear.
Of course.
Then we have, thank you to Callum for all the prep. And Louis Davis, my other half.
We're going to get Louis on a podcast.
Yes,
I think
he's coming on.
The
He'll
plan
have
is
everything to say.
we'll try and do one in Romania. I think that'll be a cool backdrop if we can get one done in Romania. Obviously, you're going to be in prep then, so we'll see if you can function mentally for it.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, I'd like to get some tears out of him, so we'll see the prep
Really?
tears. The prep tears.
At him? You
Like
need some onions or something.
Really? Like a stone, is he?
Yeah, all drops.
But yeah, that'll be a good one. So we'll do that. We'll try and get that done in Romania, because you're definitely not going to be wanting to do any podcasts in Romania. So yeah, that's it. I guess that's it, is it?
Yes, thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in to the first solo edition of the Beautiful Struggle podcast. Where can people find you on social media?
Instagram, Carly Thornton Official. Threads, Carly Thornton Official.
Yeah.
That's my new favourite. Facebook,
Yep.
YouTube, Carly Thornton. Anything, any business mentoring, life coaching,
Yep.
drop me either a message on one of my socials, clickable links on there so you can apply, and then we can go from there.
And when is the official launch of Gluteywear, the new
30th of July, when I'm away. So I have meetings
Wow.
while I'm away to
you-
make sure that everything's fine.
Yeah, that'll be a nice stressful
Yes.
time for you.
But I must say, I'm very grateful for Catherine, my sidekick, I like to call her.
Mhm.
She's been with Gluteywear for only 3-4 months now,
Right.
and she's an absolute gem. You have
Good.
to go through quite a lot of people within business and life
Mhm.
to find the ones, and she's a good one. She's a good egg.
Shout out to Catherine.
Yes,
That's
Catherine.
the girl that was on the shoot, the behind
Yes.
the scenes, right? Okay.
Yeah.
We spoke briefly, but yeah, there we go then. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening on Spotify, at The Beautiful Struggle, at jdavison_UK, at Magic Eye Media. Shout out to HR Labs, Magic 15, all that jazz, and we shall see you on the next episode. Peace.